How about them tops, son?
All day, SEC boys. SEC, they supposed to be SEC. Crazy all day, baby.
You're listening to the Red Out Podcast.
Welcome into another Red Out Podcast. My name is Devin. Let's see if we can get Jared on the line. Thanks for joining us this week, and we appreciate you all listening to the podcast. If you would not mind, like, share, and subscribe, depending on your platform. Definitely appreciate the support that you all give us, and hopefully we'll get on here in just a second. We'll get Jared going. And we'll be talking Western sports. Some big news today dropped, and some exciting things are going to be happening. I can get a hold of Jared and get him on the line so he knows that we're up and ready.
Hello.
Hey, there you are.
How's it going?
It's going good. How about you?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. It's been a pretty chill day. I didn't have to work, so that's always nice.
It started out real chill here. It was like 19 degrees Fahrenheit, so under freezing.
Yeah, it was in the low 20s here, too. I think it'll be 25 again tonight, so it feels like winter is here.
Yeah, we skipped fall completely.
Yeah.
Which is
fall,
crazy.
What's that?
Yeah, never get to understand that anymore. And that's probably part of the reason it sounds like I'm talking through my nose. I've got a cold. It's not COVID. It's just killing me right now. Good gosh. And I have found the cure for COVID. It is Fireball whiskey. I'm just saying.
Honestly, I fully believe that.
I'm going to say
I got to have me a little bit of something. I've had a little bit of something in my fridge just waiting in case I get it.
There you go. That's the best thing to do. I did.
Yeah, I just assume not even remember being in quarantine.
Yeah, I hear you. But I mean, and the bad thing is I always have a cold every year. So
Same.
This is nothing new to me. But this year it makes me think, is this something else? Yeah, seriously, man. I mean, and I'm not trying to be a hypochondriac. It's just freaky. You're just like, and it's not even just myself. I'm worried about it. It's, these people I'm around, and I'm like, like my wife's grandmother. It's like, am I possibly getting her sick? And it's, it's kind of scary to think about.
Yeah, true.
But I guess one of the winners and losers, I'm going to kind of steal one of yours, and that would be the Rice football players that had to make the trip back.
That's so bad. No, I think it was UTEP. It was UTEP players.
UTEP, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right, UTEP. So let me rehash the story. University of Texas El Paso went from El Paso to Rice, which is in Houston, and they had apparently made the decision prior to the game not to test the players that were going on the trip. When they got to Houston, said players were tested, which they should have been tested before they left. But anyway, neither here nor there. Tested them when they got there before the contest. And do you remember how many tested positive?
I don't know what the total amount was, but I know it was more than one.
Yeah. Between a couple and several tested positive for COVID, which were immediately sent back on a bus to El Paso. Which that has got to be the worst thing ever for an athlete, right?
That doesn't sound like a bad thing, but Houston from El Paso is at least an 8-hour drive, I would imagine, because Texas is freaking huge, and Houston is on the eastern side, and El Paso is like as far west you can get in Texas, so that would have been miserable.
Which I imagine, are they all even on the same time zone? I'm going to look this up because I got to know.
Probably not. Houston might be central, and I think that El Paso is mountain time. I know for sure El Paso is mountain time.
I was going to say, I'm sure they're probably both separate. 80, you're correct. El Paso is on mountain time, and everybody else is central. Let's see if I can see an image here. Yeah, okay. I'm looking at it. I've just Googled this. It's a Wikipedia page picture. And apparently, like, part of the state is central, and then the rest of the state is mountain. Okay. Main part of Texas, which looks to be about 70-80%, is Central Standard Time. The Panhandle and Plains are on Mountain Standard Time, and then El Paso and Hudspeth are supposed to be on Mountain Standard Time too. But I guess, but it says 1919 to 1921. So does that mean that the rest, like the only ones actually on Mountain Standard, are El Paso and Hudspeth? Which I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that correctly.
I guess. I don't know. I'm gonna have to call my friends in Fort Worth.
If I read this, I would actually know. The Panhandle and Plains section of Texas is now in the Central Time Zone, but had a 2-year period of being in the Mountain Time Zone between 1919 and 1921. So yes, I was right about that. So
interesting.
Yes, so that's something else you'll learn on this podcast. Time zones of Texas, exactly. Yeah, not geography. I'm the worst at geography. I couldn't even tell you what borders El Paso, which I still don't remember. I've even had somebody tell me, and I've just...
It's New Mexico.
Yes, exactly.
And New Mexico.
Yes.
New and Old Mexico.
Yes, New and Old Mexico border. So the players got sent back. Do you have any other winners or losers?
Winners, I still say my Dolphins, even though they've still had some issues at quarterback. I mean, Tua, he sprained his thumb, is what they said, or something like that. On his throwing arm and something else. So Fitzpatrick played against the Jets, which it was still kind of an ugly game. We ended up winning. The fact that the Dolphins only have 3 losses and it's December is something that I never thought I would say in my life, but I'm thankful to be here saying those things. But yeah, I mean, I'm still
say, through God, all things are possible. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But the Dolphins are still in playoff contention. If Tua is healthy, I don't know how he'll do. I mean, I hate kind of the go back in between Fitzpatrick and him, but they keep winning. I'm not complaining. I mean, usually it takes us until January, if we're lucky, to get 7 wins, and we're already sitting at that right now. So I'll take that.
So it looks like, am I correct in saying the Steelers are 11-0?
Unfortunately, yeah, that game literally just ended. There was a football game today, NFL football, if anyone was paying attention to that. It was a weird game, too.
That is weird on a Wednesday.
I know. But we're going to be playing on a Sunday now, so we're taking over the Sunday time slot instead of the Steelers.
Nice, so nice. But yeah, so... and by the way, so do we know a time on that game yet?
So the Charlotte game, after it's been canceled, rescheduled, postponed like 50 times, it is, as of right now, which is 6:10 p.m. Central Standard Time on December 2nd. It's scheduled to be Sunday at 11 a.m. Central Time in Charlotte.
I was going to say 12 p.m. Eastern Time, which, by the way, Western playing on Sunday is great. I think that's hilarious.
I feel like they'll get so overshadowed, though, by the NFL because...
Well, yeah. Usually, I mean, somebody's going to be flipping through the channels and be like, Western Kentucky and Charlotte at noon. I mean,
I'd still rather watch that than the NFC East this year. I mean, that's a very good upgrade.
Well, yeah, the NFC East, definitely, yeah. That's just a garbage fire. So I guess we'll get into it. The Charlotte game was canceled for the first, that was yesterday. And they were supposed to play at 9:30 in the morning or something, some ridiculous time.
It was going to be the brunch bowl.
Yes.
I was so hyped.
And then technically it's still the brunch bowl. Noon on a Sunday, I guess you could call that brunch. I don't get up later than like 7 o'clock now, so I don't get anything like that. But so it got canceled. I'm assuming Charlotte was still having COVID issues. And then Charlotte was supposed to play FIU. Still couldn't get their stuff together. So they ended up having to cancel that game. And since that game got canceled, which I would assume was FIU, their fault. So Charlotte rescheduled Western to play on Sunday, which is really interesting to me. I think that's hilarious. I don't know why. I'm like, really?
I mean,
Sunday?
this is kind of showing why Charlotte hasn't had a game since Halloween, and here it is, the 1st and 2nd of December. So yeah, they've really struggled.
How would you like to be a player on that team and you haven't played anybody since Halloween? And now it's
That would be
December.
rough. They've only played 5 games this year.
Yeah, they're 2-3 right now. And honestly, I thought Western had it bad, but 2-3 and having to deal with all these COVID issues, that's the bigger headache for me.
Yeah,
because just imagine talking about a game and getting ready to do it. I mean, and the team is going through all the steps to play these other teams, and then you get postponed.
Yeah.
So the last game, like you said, they played Duke and lost 53-19.
Yikes.
Yeah, that was the last game they actually played. And you said that was on Halloween. When was that?
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. 7 p.m. on October 31st. Good gosh. Then they had MTSU postponed. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Hilltopper. We're going to get to basketball here in just a second. They were supposed to play Gardner-Webb, the Gardner-Webb Bulldogs, November 14th. That got canceled. And Marshall, they were supposed to play, which is Marshall ranked 15th in the nation?
Maybe about one of the polls. I don't know if they moved up on the most recent college football playoff committee selection thing or whatever.
Yeah, according to ESPN that I'm looking at right here, it says they're 15th, which that just shows you what 2020 really is, that Marshall is ranked 15th in the nation. So I'm just saying.
Who would have thought? See, if we would have played them very last game, maybe we could have had another spectacular moment like the Black Friday Bowl or whatever it was, the very first time we played them in 2014. But yeah, we couldn't hang with them at all, even if it was later.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna take a number from your book and chalk this up to 2020 and all the stuff going with it, and just let it go at that. As much as it frustrates me. And all the Huntington people are just going to be hanging out at the Dairy Queen, so enjoy it while you can, guys. Yeah, Mr. Hilltopper is excited about the game on Sunday. I don't blame you. And hoping to get his money back for Thursday and Friday from the Yum. Good luck, buddy. Good luck. But like we said, Western's going to be playing Charlotte on December 6th at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. So let's look at this game while we're talking about it. We talked about it a little last time. Stats haven't changed. Charlotte's only played 5 games this year. They're 2-1 in conference. Points per game, about 28. They allow 31. And, of course, that Duke game is going to inflate that some. They usually get about 391 yards per game, and they allow 416. And, it's kind of split even between passing and rushing. Charlotte is – I think they'll be a pretty good team. We need to get this W. If there is a chance for us to go to a bowl game, we have to get this win to help our resume. Sadly, which I think this is a bunch of bull, Charlotte is ranked 3rd, and I think it's just because they have less losses than we do.
Yeah.
Which, if you have less games, you should not be higher in the polls than we are. Because it says they're 3rd in the East, and it's like, of course, UAB's kind of in the same boat. They're 2-1 right now, but they had more overall games, it looks like. They're 2-1 conference and 4-3 overall. Of course, yeah, Marshall. God. it just gives me a sour taste in my mouth. You know,
I know,
just me, just me.
because we're
Um,
supposed to just beat them every year, even especially when they're ranked. That's how all this rivalry started.
I think a good rivalry, like UK and Western, or not UK and U of L. Sorry. If you ask any U of L fan, if you had one make or break game that you had to win every year, it would be UK. And I think Western has gotten to the point where Marshall is that game. You
Yeah,
have to win that game. You just got to shut them up every year. And if you don't, then that's where you're at. You're going to have to watch them, do well every year. But hopefully, Western will get a bowl game. We'll keep going with the football. That's why the episode's called "You're Telling Me There's a Chance," because honestly, I figured football was over, and I figured we'd be talking basketball for the rest of 2020. But we're not. And that's going to be another thing, talking about bowl games. Can you imagine how hectic this bowl game season's going to be?
because I mean, what if the team that we're supposed to play in the bowl game has a bunch of COVID cases? Will they just cancel
Exactly.
the bowl? Will they just say, "Well, I guess we can't have it and cancel it," or will they be like, "Well, just take the players that you do have and have them play instead," or will they just try to shuffle someone else in there? It's just going to be an absolute mess, and I don't know how this is going to work.
Exactly. It is definitely going to be a disaster. And I mean, like, look at like a team like Charlotte. They haven't been able to play since October 31st. They haven't played a game since October 31st. Let's just spitball here. Let's say Charlotte gets in and they're playing, let's say UTEP, who just had people with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to manage that? Like,
Yeah.
for me, that just sounds awful because, week in and week out, are they going to give bowl bids away? Let's say Western doesn't get a bowl bid, but the team that does, they have a bunch of COVID cases pop up. Do they give the bowl bid away? So you give it to Western and say, this team can't make it, so you guys are in. Or do they reschedule the bowl and go from there? I mean, it's
Just impossible to tell because I mean we've never had an issue like this ever,
no.
and obviously all the other people have never had this issue before either. So I mean it's just first for everybody trying to figure this out because I mean this time last year everything was still normal. It was before COVID got to America, so I mean it's just really hard to plan all of this out.
Do you think it's possible we go to a bowl?
Do I think it's possible? Yes. If we were to actually beat Charlotte, which at this point we don't know what to expect against Charlotte
No.
because they haven't played in so long, they could be extra rested and be ready for this game and spend all of this time just having extra preparation, looking at our film and being ready to go out there and play because they haven't in so long. They could be really ready, but at the same time, well, they could be fatigued. They could just be worn out, burn out on everything that's happened, only having 5 games this year. I mean, their record, you can't really go much off of that, just 2-3. They haven't got to play a lot of games, and it's been so long since they've had one. It's kind of hard to tell. But, I mean, I think it's possible. If we beat Charlotte, then that definitely helps the case for a bowl game.
And that's another thing you just brought up that's a good point. Either they're going to be really rested and ready to play, or they're going to be rusty. Or, I mean, they could have both situations happen for different people in the, playing. They could either be, super rested, ready to go, and come out of the gate running, or, it could take a couple quarters for them to actually kick in. Of course, they could play like we do, just not ready to go for half the game and score a couple in one quarter and never again for the rest.
Yeah.
I think it's a possibility for Western to get a bowl bid. Do we get a bowl game? I don't know. There's so many factors that are going to play into this. And, honestly, I could see a lot of bowl games this year just get called off.
Yeah, same.
I could just,
I mean, they could keep like all of the ranked teams if they're able to stay healthy. And of course, obviously, like college football playoff, I'm sure that they would do as much as they can to make sure all of those happen the way that they should. And like your big bowl games like Fiesta Bowl and like the stuff in Florida, like the Orange Bowl, I don't know if it's still what it's called. And of course, like the Rose Bowl, all those different big bowl games. those will happen. And of course, like with your ranked teams, but just like the Bad Boy Mowers Classic Bowl, that's like the Bahamas or something like that. I don't know, like the type of bowl games that we would normally get. How many of those will be available for us? And the teams that have better records in the conference will get the first picks over those anyway. So if we get one, it's not going to be very glamorous.
Yeah, and like you said, if we were in second place, if we'd beat Florida Atlantic, we would be in a lot better position right now to get a bowl bid. And of course, if we beat Charlotte, we're going to be a little bit better. But for the bigger bowls, I agree. I can see these bowls having several dates marked that if they can't go this date, we go this date. If they can't go this date, we go this date, and maybe have 2 or 3 weeks there of possibilities. I don't know. It's this year. It's just like we were you just said. In modern times, in modern conveniences, we have not experienced this.
Yep.
So, who knows? They could cancel bowls just flat out. Let's say the Tax Slayer Bowl. They could they say, well, Team A's got COVID. We're just going to call it. We're not even going to do it. It's like, which I just dreaded.
Which I hate. I really hope football doesn't have its season in the same way that basketball did. Like with basketball, they didn't even get a chance to play in the conference tournament, and they had all this hope of potentially having a postseason, and it was just completely like the rug was pulled out from underneath them before they could even do anything. And I hope that doesn't happen with football. I hope that if we do get a bowl game, that we're actually able to play in it. And if we lose to Charlotte and we don't get a bowl bid, I mean, if that's the end of the season, then so be it. At least we have closure with it. It's just being left up in the air and potentially having another game and then it not coming through and knowing what would happen. And I mean, it just kind of stinks for the players and the coaches and everyone.
Okay, I'll ask you, did ODU's guys get another year of eligibility or no?
I still don't know about the whole eligibility thing. I mean, I assume so because technically they could claim it as a red shirt if they don't play an entire season.
Yeah.
So I would assume so.
And that's my thing, though. Like, if some of these guys have already redshirted, like, do they get this year back since the school canceled the entire season?
I think
it's really,
so.
They should. I think they totally should.
Yeah.
Of course, that's my thing, too. With there was I've actually found the video online, and I think it's a TikTok. I don't remember, or as the old people say, the TikToks. Of when they canceled UAB's football team, and if you are a fan or just love a college football team, you can feel for those guys in that room.
Yeah.
That was probably the most emotional thing, is these players basically yelling at administrators, you don't understand what we're going through. You need to look at the coaches and tell them they're not going to have jobs. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, these guys are going off, and it's I can't imagine not having a football season. It's
but I mean, thankfully, it did turn out good for them. They came back, then they won a conference tournament, the championship, and now they have this new stadium being built closer
and they
to
beat us this year
on campus. What?
I said, and they beat us this year.
Well, yeah. I mean, they've done that basically every year we've played them so far. So, I mean, they've always had a good team.
Yeah, UAB. I mean, and they've got a market that completely supports them. Thank you, Mr. Hilltopper. We appreciate the support, and I'm sure the people in the Louisville Kroger do too. Ugh. The Krogers. That's what we always call it in the South, the Krogers. You got to go to the Krogers and get you some stuff.
I got to give Brett a lot of credit because he's had to improvise a lot this year. I mean, having that extra time in Texas with no conference tournament, now he has all this time in Louisville because all of that's fallen through. At least you're making the best of it. That's good.
That's right. Yes. So, Coach, the Coach Elton is saying that Charlotte is good. coaches always say the other team's good. I don't know many times that coaches ever say they're bad. But with that said, this year Western is struggling to actually do well in any game. I don't know of any team that we've actually dominated for most of the game, except for FIU, and that was basically because of two defensive touchdowns there that actually pulled us ahead. But if we could dominate this team and actually show the bowl committee that we can actually do well, I could see Western doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyway, let's go to some more depressing stuff. Western versus Louisville. Right?
Yeah.
And it was that. I mean, even in the first half, it was a little bit Western would pull ahead. I think the largest lead was 17-10, 25-19.
Yeah, I think it was like 17-10 or 18-10 or something like that.
And then Louisville started pulling ahead a little bit, and actually they basically just grew that lead going into the second half and just dominated. I mean, Did you watch the game, and what did you think?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. I was doing tweets for the tower. Yeah, but I don't know what happened, but we came out and we looked pretty solid. And then we got to 25 points, and we could not score after that. Like, we were stuck at 25 points for like 6 minutes without scoring anything. And you can't win a game where you have a 6-minute scoring drought like that, because that gave Louisville plenty of time to come back. Then they had the lead at the half. And then we come out in the first 4 minutes of that second half with some of the worst basketball I've ever seen us play. Like, it was just turnover after offensive foul, after all of these stupid things that happened that I don't think they could they couldn't happen again if we tried to make those things happen. It was that bad. I don't know what happened, but they just came out at halftime and they looked like a completely different team, but for the worst. And then once it got over 10 points lead for Louisville, it was basically over. I mean, Davion Hollingsworth, I give him a lot of credit. He was the one that played with the most heart out of anybody. He was trying as hard as he could to keep his team in the game, but outside of that, it was bad.
Yeah, I mean, he led with 19 points. Bassey led in rebounds. And let's see, McKnight led in assists. But there's 3 points that cost us the game. Turnovers, we had 21. Yeah. Louisville only had 13. Rebounds was a small one. Western only had 31, where Louisville had 34. So we've got to definitely dominate the boards there. Here's the one, the major thing, 3-point percentage. Yeah. Louisville shot 44% from the field in threes. Western shot 16.7. So essentially every 4 shots, we hit one and they made them.
Yeah. It was bad. I don't know what it is about us playing Louisville. It's like what he just said in the chat, saying how it's like a Louisville curse, that we always blow our lead every time we play Louisville in any sport. And that does seem accurate, at least for the past 4 years, because, I mean, even the Ray Harper era, at least we actually played Louisville kind of close. Like, I'll never forget when we played them in Diddle Arena. They were number 4 in the country. That was when they had Terry Rozier and Montrezl Harrell. We only lost that game by 9 points, and we were in it basically the entire game, except maybe the last 4 minutes or so. So, I mean, it's just frustrating because we hype this game up every single year. We think, we got a good chance. I mean, we've shown that we're doing pretty good things so far, and then we just come and, as Jake would say, just pee down our leg. So, it's sad.
I think it's hilarious. You still like that phrase.
That is an incredible phrase. I wish you would come back. Jake, I don't know where you are, but come back.
Yes, I need to get him back on the show. He's his wife is doing graduate school right now, so he's watching little Emmy and taking care of her. But Western lost by 21 last night, and it's just frustrating. Yeah, Mr. Hilltopper's talking about when he was there when we beat Louisville when they were in the top 5. I was going to ask if every time you went to a Louisville Western game, if we lost, I was going to say, Mr. Hilltopper, please just stay away for one game and let's see what happens.
There's been some teams like that for me that I feel like whenever I go or watch the game, even it's just like it's a guaranteed loss. And apparently Louisville's like that too, guys.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah.
But of course, Western lost. We're going to be playing. Let me see. Sorry, we're going to be playing Campbellsville next. It's the next one on the schedule. Do what?
See, what happened is that we were supposed to play Prairie View A&M, and then they had to drop out of the tournament completely because of COVID.
Yes.
And then we were going to play Little Rock, and then we had to push it back, and then we were going to move that to Diddle Arena on Friday. And then I don't know if it was them or us or whoever. It's probably them. They were just like, we don't want to go to Diddle Arena, or we don't want to do this anymore. We just want to go home or schedule something else. So we dropped the Little Rock game too. So now Todd Stewart's frantically trying to piece together a game or two this week, potentially, to get us some extra playing. Because I know he was trying to get Tennessee, that he said that he extended the offer to play Tennessee maybe this week. So if we can get that, that would be a good game. I can't remember. I don't know if we've played them in basketball. I remember when we played them in football. But that would be a pretty good test to play an SEC team like that, because Stansbury has experience with SEC. So I think that could be a good matchup if we get that.
Yeah. I was going to say, I knew the Arkansas Little Rock was pushed from before. It was scheduled. What is that date? It was scheduled for the 28th of November, and then it was postponed.
Yeah. Which that would have been inhumane if Stansbury did that, going straight from 3 games in South Dakota, flying into Louisville, and then having a game as soon as you touch down, basically.
Yeah.
I think that might be part of our problem, too. I mean, we just went from that tournament, and now here we are going straight to Louisville and playing an ACC team in their own building. So, I mean, it's rough. I mean, this is a good test just to show them the durability they're going to have once they get to conference tournament. But, yeah, still.
Yeah, and that may be part of it. Is maybe they were just dead from the tournament or just celebrated too much. I don't know. With that Louisville game, but we are definitely going to have to start a GoFundMe and buy rabbit's foots for Mr. Hilltopper, so that next year when he goes to Louisville, we'll just have him like this really freakish leg of rabbit necklace, just like this huge thing, just so we can get over this. But anyway, sorry about that. Weird aside. Yeah, cancel Prairie View, Arkansas Little Rock, deuces. See ya. Campbellsville on the 10th. Like you said, I'm hoping that we can get a game in between there and then. It would be nice to have some games going before.
I know what I would love to see, but I know that they've had COVID issues already too, and that's Butler.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they had to shut down their stuff about a week ago. I don't know if they're getting close to where they could play anybody, but that would be another good game to pick up. They're Big East school right up the road on 65, about 3-hour drive from Bowling Green. Obviously a really good team. I still want that to happen so bad one of these days. We'll see.
Honestly, I would be okay with like an Eastern or Murray or somebody like that.
Yeah, even just somebody in the state, even heck like Vanderbilt or even Belmont again. I mean, I don't know if we would do any better against them this year, but I mean, these teams down in Nashville, even Tennessee State, I think we played them at home though, don't we?
I think you might be right. I'll have to check on that one.
Even Lipscomb.
Well, we got Tennessee Tech, Golden Eagles.
Okay, I knew it was one of the Tennessee schools. I mean, even just looking in Nashville, I mean, you have Tennessee State, you have Vanderbilt, you have Belmont, you have Lipscomb.
Well, I mean, honestly, here's a team I'm going to throw out, and it's Bellarmine. Yeah. They're a transition team. That would be great. Just put them on the schedule.
We need a team to get our offense to click. Like, we need to schedule this team that Murray did, like Greenville, Illinois, or whoever it was, and they hung like 180 points on them. That's what we need, just so we can see the ball go through the basket and actually get some momentum going. Because we did pretty good against Northern Iowa. We did great against Memphis. But, I mean, West Virginia was good. I just hated that Bassey got in foul trouble in the first half of that game.
Yeah.
We had some chances. I mean, they're still top 15 team. They're Big East 12, all of that. But we kind of do need a cupcake at this point, because we need to get out of this shooting slump that we're in, and also just try to get some confidence going in these young players and get something going offensively.
I agree. I would like to see, like you said, See some confidence built, some more fodder for the Western offense so they can kind of get things going. Of course, we play Campbellsville on the 10th. On the 13th, we play Rhode Island. That's a fun one.
That'll be a big game.
Yeah, and then we've got Tennessee Tech, and then we've got Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils. Man, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, we haven't played them since the NCAA tournament in front of Obama and the British dude. That was the ugliest game I've ever seen. As bad as the Louisville game was yesterday, it is nowhere near as bad as that game that I had to watch. I was so excited to watch the Hilltoppers in the NCAA tournament against Mississippi Valley State. It was the 2-16 teams, which we shouldn't have even been in the tournament to begin with. We had a losing record, and that was the first instance of Harper Mania. And that was so bad. So bad. I felt like no one could score. There was like 20 turnovers from both teams at least. God, it was ugly. And we came back down. We were down like 18 points with like 2 minutes left, and we still came back and won that. That was what was crazy. But
Yes.
that's a game I will never forget. I don't know what it'll be like this year. It's 2020, so it could be way worse than that. So who knows?
So what is a Delta Devil? That's my big question.
Same thing as a Raging Cajun, basically.
Sounds good. I can go with that. They all speak Creole.
Yeah.
I will say, well, I'm not going to talk about it. I'll talk about it off the air maybe with you sometime. But anyway,
Yeah.
Campbellsville's doing okay. I have no information on them, and Western's supposed to beat them by 99.2%.
We better. If we lose to Campbellsville, just say that we have COVID problems and shut it down.
So if we lose to Campbellsville, do you just chalk it up like Calipari did? Is that not the greatest thing ever, though?
Oh yeah.
Like anybody that has UK friends, they're just like, oh, it's the beginning of the year. Just don't worry about it, man. It's the beginning of the year.
We're still going to look at that loss in March, and depending on what happens between now and then, I don't know.
It's pretty funny though. It's really funny.
Yeah.
Even as a UK sympathizer, I'll use that as my terminology. I think that's hilarious. And I think part of it is because I don't blame him for this. I would encourage kids too that want to go pro, but some of these kids, maybe they need to stay back a year,
Yeah.
But I don't blame him. If kids want to go pro, who am I to stand between $5, $6, $10 million, whatever they're going to make,
Still more than they would have in college, which is basically nothing. So yeah.
Exactly. And here's the thing too. I've heard people say, well, they need to get their degree. Well, guess what, buddy? They can get a degree. They get their bonus. They just send it back to Western or wherever and do an online degree.
Yeah.
They could do what is that stupid commercial all the time?
Southern New Hampshire University, probably.
Yeah, any of those goofy ones. They could do any of those online universities and get a degree, and then still have something to fall back on. Honestly, I almost wish universities would put athletes through an accounting course or a money management course or something like that for like basketball, football, whoever. If these kids are going to go pro, I wish they had something to stand on so that when they did get in the league, for instance, like Shaq.
Mhm.
Have you heard the story with Shaq?
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes in the league, he gets his sign-on bonus check, and he spends all his money, and then the feds come up and they're like, hey, where's our tax money? And he goes, I spent it. And they're like, well, that's not going to work. And so he had to learn really quickly that, $1 million signing bonus is not actually $1 million. It's, how much ever before taxes or after taxes. So it's just crazy. But these kids just don't learn. I mean, some of these athletes end up actually doing worse off than they would have, before actually making it to the league.
Yeah, I can't remember the dude's name, but I know there was somebody that basically spent all their money on shoes that was a pro player, and they ended up not staying in the league long and lost basically all their money.
There was one of the guys for UK, and I want to say it was it Derek Walker or Derek Anderson? I might be wrong.
I don't know.
So don't quote me on that. But one of the former UK players that went in the league, he ended up, buying all this stuff for his entourage and everything, and ended up just basically losing everything when he lost his contract with the league. So you just gotta, I just want the best for these young men, and I want them to do well. So the last games on ESPN that Western and Campbellsville played, the last 5, here we go. For Campbellsville, Western played them in 2019. This is what's listed. We beat them 109-66. The next game is November 14th, 2015. We beat them 97-77. November 29th, 2013, that would be Samford Bulldogs. They beat them 79-68. And finally, UNC Wilmington Seahawks beat them 72-55 in 2013. That's the last 5 games that Campbellsville has listed on ESPN.
Wow. I know they've obviously had more than that, but still.
Yeah, but it's just kind of, well, I guess since they're kind of an unknown school, they have to just go with whatever's televised, I guess.
Yeah, I assume so. Or then whenever they play just like an actual Division I program, considering they're NAI, then they're not on ESPN's website.
I was going to say, we're still going to be talking about this game next week because it's not until December 10th, which is a next Thursday.
I have a question for you, though.
Sure, shoot.
So before then, do you think, 2 questions. Do you think we pick up someone? And if so, who do you think it would be?
It's going to be somebody small. It's not going to be a big school, I don't think, unless I don't think. The only reason I would think it would be a big school would be like, let's say, for shits and giggles, let's say if Tennessee missed one of their games, which I don't even know who they're playing. Let's say one of their competitors canceled for COVID, and Western's like, "Hey, can we slide in? We'll take that time." Boop. That's one of the few things I think might happen. If Western could slide into a already scheduled game between now and next Thursday, that's the only way I see it working out for us to get a big game.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I definitely think that we'll pick up somebody. I mean, Todd Stewart, bless his heart, I think he's earning every dollar that he gets paid on his salary this year, trying to fill all these gaps with all the schedules and all the postponements and everything that he's had to deal with this year, trying to make things work. I mean, he's done a great job, though. I mean, he has a lot of connections at Tennessee. I think that Phil Fulmer, if he calls him up, be like, "Yo, dog, can we get a game?" He might be like, I'll think about it. But now that they watched the Louisville game, they might be more warm to play this and be like, "Oh, these dudes aren't that good. We'll play them." And then hopefully we might actually have a game where if we're still taking a god-awful amount of three-pointers, we actually make them. So I don't know. I mean, if we don't get Tennessee, I think we may get another school regionally, at least within like 100 miles or so. I don't know if we would go down to as far down as like Alabama and play like some random team or have them come up here. I assume we would try to get a home game just for the fact that we haven't even had a home game yet on our own court. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
So, since we're talking about kind of what's happening, sad news. We have lost Davis Shanley to the transfer portal.
Yeah, and I lost Kadarius Thomas.
Oh, is he transferring too?
Yeah, both of them transferred in the same day.
Oh my gosh. I remember hearing on the group chat there was 4. Do you know what the other 2 were? Or who the other
one of
2 were?
them was like a defensive end that was a backup, and then I can't remember
Atkinson.
who the other one was. Even one of the equipment managers grad transferred and like did a whole announcement.
You're kidding me.
I will send you that later, but yeah, even one of our equipment managers is transferring.
That is hilarious. That sounds like a Matt McKay thing right there.
But he did the whole thing that everyone does when you transfer, like typing it out in your phone notes and then having your signature picture or something.
So I do agree, Mr. Hilltopper. I wanted to see Shanley get a shot too. And also we do need to keep Todd Stewart as long as we can. Not just because he's my cousin, but because he is he's a good AD. And I think Todd actually does really care about the university itself. I mean, he's worked here for years, even before being an AD. I think his last job before this, what was it, the Browns or something?
Yeah.
And then he got to Western. So we've lost a defensive end to a transfer, Shanley, Thomas,
And someone else,
and
and an
then
equipment manager.
and then an equipment manager, and then so is there an issue? Is there an issue that we're just me and you and our good friends listening? Is it just a coaching issue? I'm wondering, or is it people just thinking, let's get off the ship before it sinks?
I don't know. I mean, I've had a good discussion with Ross about this too. I mean, he's not as worried about all these transfers as I am, but I think it's a little bit concerning seeing all of these people jump ship this late in the season. I mean, I know that playing time is the biggest factor with any type of transfer that you have. And obviously, a lot of the people that are transferring didn't get to play. I mean, Shanley didn't get to play at all. Thomas got a little bit of a shot, and then Bigram came back in. So, I mean, I'm not too surprised with that. I mean, a lot of the guys that we've lost, they're not these like super big and core players. Like if it was someone like Joshua Simon or one of those core players that we really need to have on this team, then yeah, I would definitely be a little more upset too. But still, you want to have these guys for depth too, because I mean, you just don't want to lose players. Honestly, you want to try to get people to come and develop them, and then hopefully be able to put them on the field. I don't know the reasons of why these players transferred. I mean, obviously playing time is a big one. But I mean, if we were recruiting better, I wouldn't be as worried. But the fact that we only have 2 commits for next year's class, and here it is December, I don't think that's very good right now. Helton's going to have his work cut out for him because, I mean, with COVID and everything else going on in the world, once our season is over, I mean, they're going to have a very unusual recruitment period trying to get some guys to commit. And of course, us having a subpar year this year doesn't really help us as far as recruiting either.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I didn't realize Shanley had been here 4 years. Did
Yeah.
you? I mean,
Uh,
I see it in his little release he did,
yeah.
but I honestly thought he had another year, but I guess he was a redshirt 1 year.
Mhm.
Um, but that's another thing we're seeing with Helton too, is he's not developing players. He's more or less going for the JUCOs and the grad transfers, and that does not speak to permanency for me. What about
Yeah.
you?
I mean, I like the grad transfers that he's gotten up to this point. There's some that still haven't even played, like Will Ignat, or however you say his name. They got linebacker for Tennessee. He'll be able to play next year. He's going to be big. But I mean, just we haven't really gotten much of anybody, and that kind of is concerning for me because we still want to get some freshmen. And I mean, see, the whole thing is that our biggest pipeline was Florida, and now Florida is basically getting completely taken over still by Willie Taggart. I mean, that's been his bread and butter since. I mean, he was at Western. I mean, he's always been able to recruit the state of Florida. So that's hard for us. I mean, Georgia has been a big pipeline state for us recently, but I mean, it's just frustrating.
It is. Um, I will plug something real quick. ESPN has an article out discussing the kind of the post Jimbo Fisher FSU years.
Hmm.
I completely recommend the reading. It's a long read, especially for us people with ADD like myself who can't keep up. And I actually have not finished it. That's why I say that. I've read all the way till Willie Taggart takes over at FSU.
Hmm.
And of course, they talked to hundreds of coaches, and some coaches, would not comment, and some ADs wouldn't comment, yada, yada, yada. But there was a coach, and I'm sure he was from Western at some point because Willie just brought everybody with him, that said that the kids at FSU were the worst kids he's ever dealt with.
Wow.
And I was like, at that point, and I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I recommend all of our listeners to read that whenever you get a chance. But it is concerning to me that Coach Helton does not have any. Well, I mean, he's got some freshmen, but he does not have any players that he's actually developing in key
Hmm.
positions.
And here's the scary thought too: D'Angelo Malone graduates. That dude's going to have a good shot at being drafted and being in the NFL. So we won't have our best defensive player that we've had in years on the team anymore defensively. So that's going to be a big gap to fill on that
Yes,
side of the ball too. I mean, as much as we're worried about the offense and how stagnant it's been this year, I mean, defensively thinking the next year too. I mean, where's that production going to come from?
Exactly. Let me look up somebody real quick because I want to see actually how many defensive players we're losing if I can real quick.
Do you think that Shanley or Thomas will stay at FBS level? Or do you think that they'll maybe have to go down a little bit, or how do you see that going?
Thomas, he'll be at Campbellsville.
No.
I'm just messing with you, dude. No, I don't think either of them will end up at a Southern Illinois if that's what you're saying.
Mhm.
I think they'll probably Shanley will probably end up at a probably like a Sunbelt school. Honestly, I think he's a good. Don't get me wrong. I think he's great, and I honestly was really pulling for Shanley to start. But and Thomas, I don't know. Thomas
I
is
feel
kind
like
of
he could definitely go to one of the Florida schools. I don't know if it would be like a lateral movement to Conference USA. I don't know if he would go to like FAU, FIU, or anything like that. He
Yeah.
might try to go home to Tampa and go back to maybe like USF or something. I think that he's still pretty talented enough, but I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, so sorry, I'm crunching my Hall's breath mint or cough drop. Okay, so here are our seniors that we're losing: Tyler Witt, offensive line;
Dang.
Jordan Meredith, offensive line.
Dang it. No, two offensive linemen gone. That's
No. I'm not done.
Oh,
Seth
God.
Joyce, offensive line.
No, not Seth.
That's three right there. Those are all three seniors. Now, I
Yeah.
don't know if they're redshirt seniors, so I don't know if they may have another year, but those are three right there. That's three big ones.
That's 3 out of 5 of the offensive linemen. That's never good.
We are going to be losing Gage Walker,
Oh, God.
Malik Staples, which I haven't really seen a lot
Yeah,
out
he
of him
was
this
the
year.
other running back that came from Louisville. He was a linebacker, and then Helton made him play running back. He's been pretty good, though.
And then let's see, we got two running backs. We also have this is just offense. We've got Xavier Lane. He's graduating too. He's a wide receiver. And Steven Wachkowski.
He's been he kind of underperformed a little bit.
I can understand.
I mean, we still have Simon. As long as we keep Simon, I think people will still have some good hopes for next year. But if he were to transfer, that's when I think there's going to be a little more heat on Helton.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we had what did I say? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seniors on offense. Here we go. Defense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 defensive seniors. That's going to hurt, fellas.
Yeah.
That's going to hurt, fellas and fillies. We've got Devin Wharton, defensive end; Deontay Ruffin, DB; Trey Meadows, DB; D'Angelo Malone, defensive end; Jalen Madden, defensive tackle; Damon Lowe, linebacker; Antoine Kincaid, DB; Devin Key, DB; Clay Davis, linebacker; Terry Darvin, defensive tackle; Roger Cray, defensive back; Devontae Colton, defensive end; Demetrius Kane, defensive end; Eli Brown, linebacker; Kyle Bailey, linebacker;
No, not Kyle Bailey.
Omari Alexander, defensive back. Yeah, all those guys. Those are all seniors. I'm not going to say they're all gone, but they're all seniors, and that's 15 seniors.
If we lose all of them, then next year it will be a full rebuild. Honestly.
Oh my gosh.
If you're losing that many players on offense and also losing that many seniors on defense, next year will be a full rebuild year.
Yes,
so,
it's going to be a rough
I'll go ahead and throw it out the window now, but hopefully not. See, next year is actually a good excuse to use a lot of grad transfers. I can allow that. And getting some JUCO guys to help instantly alleviate the growing pains of just having all freshmen do it. And having some grad transfers obviously would be really helpful. But man,
you've got to have some. You've got to have some.
That's rough. Yeah, you got to have some experience because if you try to fill in that many gaps with all freshmen, 5 wins would be a blessing.
Freshmen, sophomores, I completely agree.
Yeah,
when you have underclassmen trying to play, but you have to have some underclassmen. You need a couple. But 2 or 3 years ago, when all those offensive linemen were underclassmen and, Mike White and, Stephen Duncan, when they were getting hammered by, D linemen, that was what was up. That we had underclassmen playing O-line because the upperclassmen were either hurt or transferring or doing whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. You have to have some JUCOs and grad transfers to plug some holes. But there has to be some kind of meshing and working together that builds these teams, because it is a team sport. Football is one of the most team sport things that, is around, because you have to have this. It has to be like a machine. It's got to run. It's got to work. Things have to time out just right. It's almost like a very extensive dance. I hate to say dance, but that's really what it is. That's what practice is. You have to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. O-line's doing their job. Running backs and DBs, wide receivers are hitting their routes, and but you just can't. And that's my problem. Like this year, yes, I agree that some of these guys have done well, but then you have Piggy, and Piggy has done mediocrity well.
I mean,
on
paper, he doesn't look that bad, but in reality, I mean, he just hasn't fit with this offense well.
No, he has not melded with his offense. And I'm sure he's a great person. I'm not talking about his personality or anything like that, but as a football player
at Western,
it's just not doing very well. And honestly, going into the year, I was optimistic.
Yeah,
I thought
we came off like a 9-4 season, so yeah.
Yeah, and I mean we had Ty Story, so maybe it's just SEC quarterbacks is what we need.
Yeah, just poach the SEC. That's all I would do if I was Coach Helton this offseason. I would just like slide into DMs of all these role players on like Alabama and even like all the other teams too that are still pretty good. I'd be like, hey, if you're tired of sitting on the bench, I mean, you can come play and be a star player and everything. And just send that to like 50 different SEC players that are able to transfer immediately. That's what I would do.
So I have one more I did not mention. I forgot. John Haggerty.
No. Dang it. We have to get another Aussie punter. At this point, we have to just continue the legacy of Aussie punters.
Yes.
They are just so much better. They're not affected by gravity.
Yes, I agree. We just, honestly, and I agree, Mr. Hilltopper said that's Lane Kiffin's way, take all the good rejects. I think that we need to take a note from Last Chance U and just go to all these schools, and when these kids just do really badly, just be like, hey, we got you, bro. Come play for us.
That's what we did with Jonathan Dowling, and it worked.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's players that we've done that before, and it's worked. So
yeah, so I'm fine with that. That's fine. I mean, Western used to have that reputation of being the hard knock school, and if you get a bunch of mean dudes on defense, I am completely fine with that.
Yeah.
So, just to recap here, Western is going to be playing Charlotte at 12 p.m., 12 noon on Sunday, December 6th. I want to say that's the 6th. That's Eastern time or 11 a.m. Central time.
It's on ESPN.
So if you're going to church, just pop a little AirPod in your ear. Yeah, it's on ESPN3. But if you want to listen to Randy Lee, just pop a little EarPod in your ear. And every time Western scores or does good, just say, hallelujah. Praise Jesus. Amen. I'm going to get struck by lightning. I know it right now.
This is great.
So,
now, your pastor would love you if you did that, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah. And if you go to like a non-denominational church, just throw your hands up in the air, whatever, Western scores or does well, you'll blend right in with everybody else. It'll be fun. But yes, that's where we sit. As long as, knock on wood, nothing happens, and Charlotte doesn't have some more COVID come down, they should just change their name from the 49ers to the COVIDs. But anyway, and then next Thursday, Western basketball is going to be playing Campbellsville in a little exhibition match, unless there's another game that pops up, which if there is, check the towel rack. We'll try to be posting and doing all that good stuff.
Yeah,
And
like
if
we
you-
literally have things change on a dime. Like as soon as we tweet out the tweet saying, "Hey, this game is postponed and now it's this time," like you get rescheduled immediately after we tweet that out. It's just been a nightmare. But I mean, we're all on the same playing field. We don't know how to handle all this, so we're trying.
Exactly. But like I said, we've got till next Thursday. We'll talk about Campbellsville again. We'll talk some more basketball next week. We'll talk recap football.
If it's played.
Hopefully, yes. We'll maybe know more about the bowl game projection. Maybe.
We'll
If
see.
we're going to get one. If we're not,
Mhm.
we'll see. I don't know. It's still up in the air like everything else. But again, check back with us next Wednesday. Same time, same channel. And how much is... Okay, so Mr. Hilltopper, before we leave, Mr. Hilltopper wants to know, how much is WKU paying Charlotte to lose? I think they're going to pay them in N95 masks, and it's probably like 2,000, 3,000 masks. So, but anyway, guys, check back with us next Wednesday. We will be back here, knock on wood, as long as everything's going well. And as always, guys, go Tops.
Good tops.